Hyjal, a place that held mystery for many years in World of Warcraft. It was previously a Night Elf haven where the World Tree Nordrassil sat for many thousands of years. That is until Warcraft 3 and the second invasion of the Burning Legion occurred, and Archimonde destroyed the tree along with losing his own life. Who says wisps are useless? Today, we don't need to know so much about the lore, as we really only need to know the history of exploring the area. Up until the Cataclysm, Hyjal was an inaccessible area that few had ever wandered into. There are quite a few people that have videos on this area pre-Cataclysm and in classic World of Warcraft, but obviously the zone is completely updated now and there really isn't much of a mystery left to the area. Except for the Firelands, I did make a video about that quite a while ago. If you do want to see the Out of Bounds area in the Firelands raid, you can check out that video if you want. Anyway, one of the best videos showing off the old version of Hyjal is by Hayven Games. They showed off the entire area, including the coolest part of the area, the Skeleton of Archimonde. There will be a link to that video below. Obviously, this task of exploring this area is almost impossible to accomplish now, as in Classic, they've tried to patch up all of the ways to get into the zone. The YouTuber Megason Ford does have a video that shows that they did not do this perfectly, just like in the Brawlers Guild in Orgrimmar. So if you want to perform this exploration in Classic Hyjal, you can do it by watching his video. We, however, are continuing on with part 7 of the Caverns of Time series. The first full series on my channel. There's only a few episodes left of this series, so stick around. But if you haven't watched parts 1 through 6, I will have a link to the new playlist that I've created in the description of this video. In this video in particular, we will explore the battle for Mount Hyjal, the raid, a raid notoriously hated. Really quickly before we get started with trying to glitch out of bounds, if you enjoyed the video, leaving a like and a comment on the video lets me know that. In particular, you can leave a comment letting me know about smaller areas that you've glitched out of bounds in, ones that only take maybe 4 or 5 minutes to explore. All support on these videos is greatly appreciated. Oh wait, am I forgetting something? Oh yeah, oh Felguard!
Who dares summon me?
Tell the viewers what subscribing is. It always is
a paltry task. Do not call on me again.
Now, in retail World of Warcraft Shadowlands, the only way to explore what the zone looked like before the Cataclysm is to try and break out of bounds in the Battle for Mount Hyjal instance, which is exactly what we're going to do, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Before I break too far out of bounds though, did you know that you can actually head into the undead base here? I never raided in the Battle of Hyjal before I could solo the raid myself, as I started playing TBC and didn't raid until Wrath of the Lich King. But even after soloing the raid many times for reputation, I never knew that you could actually travel to the undead base. So the first area I show off will be just that. I'm not sure if it's well known, and if it is, then please leave a comment explaining if anyone ever tried to battle through these enemies. There are tons of enemies all around, and so of course I kill all of them, and notice when you enter these buildings, the music does change to undead themes. You can even explore this crypt here, and it's fully detailed. As I was about to leave the area, I noticed that the enemies respawn pretty quickly. Weird that enemies in an instance respawn like this, and sadly, they don't drop many sweet loots. Now that this area has been explored, let's see if we can't get past these invisible barriers down here. And here's where I found a major issue with getting out of bounds in the Battle for Hyjal. It's janky as heck. The first place I tried was in the Southern Pass, beyond the Undead Buildings, and no avail there. I tried many other places as well. One promising area though was the Human City. There's this tower and a wall here with a small mountain range to the left of it, but weirdly enough, when I did get past the wall by climbing the mountain, I became completely stuck after very hopeful progress. Quite unfortunate. So I don't recommend trying this area either. After much exploring the area, I discovered a little cliff that was able to be climbed, and here we are. We finally caught a break in our journey. Let's get up to the high ground so that we can scout the area. It's time to explore! I initially stuck to the mountains to try and keep a height advantage for scouting out neat or different looking areas. But sadly, I failed this jump. At this point, I knew that we had a massive out of bounds area to explore. I continued in the mountains and tried to keep a close watch on the map as to where I was. As soon as I was about to finally head to the lower level of the map, I noticed in the corner of my eye a Night Elf ruin in the distance, but sadly, I did not execute the jump as well as I should have. We'll be back there later. Continuing west along the mountains, I started to see some pretty unique scenery. A cave? What is that doing here? Knowing how caves can be in out of bounds area, I scouted what was behind the cave and decided that it was just best to travel over the mountains instead of risking cave exploration. For those of you who don't know, caves can be pretty dangerous in out of bounds areas. I made a pretty risky jump, and at the time of recording this, I was not as skilled at these explorations as I am now, so I fell pretty far. I recorded some of these instances months ago. I mean, I had this series thought up a long time ago before I really committed to YouTube. Note that this instance is one of the last ones that I've recorded for almost a year. There are still a couple more, so the gear changes that I made in the Brawlers Guild won't be visible until I think my next video, but we'll see about that. After the pretty far fall, I was able to make it back to the top of this ledge above the cave with my Demon Hunter skills with a Z. Yeah, I'm hip. What is this place? As far as I could find, there doesn't seem to be much information about it. The area looks almost obsidian, similar to Demon Fall Canyon in Ashenvale. I think it's supposed to be Dark Whisper Gorge from classic Winterspring. Tim's Variety Channel also did a video on the area, and that's what he mentioned. I'm not too sure if his method still works for getting into classic Hyjal, but definitely give it a watch, it's a pretty good video. Anyway, the Hyjal area looks completely different since the Cataclysm. The lower area that we are currently exploring is completely covered in Twilight's Hammer camps and the Firelands itself. Let's jump down to see what lies in this demonic land. These towers look nothing like anything I've ever seen in the game. And this cave here, I think would be the original entrance to Hyjal if they ever released it in vanilla. On the other side, the cave is blocked off as I suspected, but if you walk close enough to it, the music does change and it changes to a cave sound. The minimap actually shows that you're in a cave. Weird. This area may be a new favorite of all the out of bounds areas that we've explored so far. I hopped back up on the mountain ledge and checked out the other side of the cave. There isn't a way in on this side either, and even when using Door of Shadows, one of the most broken spells in all of World of Warcraft, I could not get past the rocks. Let's now traverse the Lowlands of Hyjal. Eventually we run into more lands that look corrupted, and as you can see ahead, there are even more bizarre towers. Am I imagining that these show up in no other place in the game? Let's continue before I get too creeped out. Finally, when I got to a point nearing the actual raid, I jumped down to these off-path areas and explored them as well. If you're familiar with the Cataclysm version of Mount Hyjal, then much of the landscape will probably be familiar to you. It definitely has similarities. After making my way back to the canyon, I climbed up the rocks on the southern side of the mountains and climbed back all the way to the western side of the map. Traveling along these mountains, I eventually found a small nook with what looked like skeletal remains and some kind of pillar. I made the decision whether to jump or not, and instead I walked a bit further north. At this point I could see beyond the barrier what looked like Winterspring, and then changed my mind about not jumping down. At this point I thought, I'm probably going to have to make multiple exploration trips here no matter what I do. So I jumped down, and this is just incredible. These geysers are incredibly strange looking. This skull here looks like that of a dragon, and this tower is very weird. The other skeleton here must also be part of a dragon. Now, I knew that this would likely be the case, but I cannot get back up to the main area, so instead I tried to fly towards whatever can be seen past this wall, and it didn't work. So again, I did what any great explorer must do. Time for a fresh restart. Let's go for that Night Elf ruins that we saw before. I make a much more concentrated and deliberate attempt to stay atop the mountains. I jump past the wall of the human stronghold and then move further down into the mountains, until here we are, a lone night elven ruin, similar to the one I found when I broke out of bounds over Stratholme and beyond the city. You can check out that video if you want, but it is my first video that I ever put effort into, and so it's a bit, you know, it's aged, it's aged, but you know, it's still got some good information in it, and it's pretty interesting. There are fully lit lampposts here and a few benches. This just begs the question as to why this whole area was so detailed in classic World of Warcraft, and it was never used. I wonder why that is. Was it just for mystery? Was it just Blizzard knew that people were going to explore this area? I don't know. But again, I performed the Great Explorer's Plunge and start over since we've seen the whole lower section. Now, I tried to glitch out of bounds in the Orc camp and head to the farthest reaches in the north, into Winterspring. It was a long way down. Very long. I still stuck along the mountains for a bit before fully committing to reach the bottom, just in case the mountains held a secret. Strange textures abounded, but no secrets were there other than that. I decided to fly as far west as possible before landing in order to try to make the most out of this life. It's still a very long way down. We fly so far west that we were actually in Felwood. Let's begin exploring the zone, shall we? The path I follow here instantly leads to a night elven ruin. And turning around reveals that we are actually at the Iron Tree Woods. How amazing is it that this place was still included? I mean, that's pretty awesome. The three ancient protectors are frozen in time as always, except they are no longer surrounded by the plague aura. This tree is definitely still plagued. The river here, while there is no river, still has plagued waterfalls continuously pouring into nothing. Let's continue on. Typically, to get from Felwood to Winterspring, you must traverse the Timbermaw Hold. Yet these furbolgs made their tunnel farther down the way in an area that is not included in Hyjal, so we're at a luck. Once again, I must enact my great exploration skills and restart my journey. Again, I break out of bounds in the Orc area, climb the mountains, and instead of traveling to the west, I head to the east. It is mind-blowing how far that I fall here. In real time, it's about 3 minutes just to reach this branch. Seeing these frozen branches and tree roots are amazing. Obviously this stuff exists in Winterspring, but something about not being able to fly makes exploring this area much more intriguing. Seeing this place like this makes me take in much more of the actual detail that went into the design of Winterspring, and how Nordrasel literally entangles itself with the mountains. There are quite a few Night Elven ruins, and beyond them are some hot springs. The bubbles coming out of the ground are quite strange if I do say so myself. Looking past the border allows me to see all the trees sticking out of the ground and helps me realize that even more of Felwood is traversable here. So I head up the mountains and I jump down, and the classic version of the Talon Branch Glade is still here, and even has its hippogriff. Entering the house changes the music, the first we've seen in this glitch other than the cave from the Lowlands. After a ton of climbing, I did make my way partially back up the mountains and took flight once again. I realized that there was more to see in the south, but instead of making it to the next area, I jumped over the edge by accident and realized that for once there was not an invisible barrier cutting us off from further exploration. You thought the fall from Hyjal to Winterspring was a lot? It's even a farther fall from Felwood to the outer ledge. Just incredible. There's an outer edge strip along the outside of the Hyjal raid. Sadly, it's only on the western side of the map, and I took a good look at the instance above, and well, yeah, that kind of ends another stretch of the Hyjal exploration. The final area I explored was the rest of the Felwood area that we saw before. To get here, I started over and climbed as high as possible in these mountains and flew across the entire map. I landed in an area where I could continue climbing the wall and get to the other side of the Felwood. Well, it's another long way down. And when I finally hit the ground, I was able to find the Emerald Sanctuary. On the other side of the area was the ruins of Morlos Arad. The nostalgic raid of the battle for Mount Hyjal has now been fully explored. I may have missed some areas, but I think for the most part I gave it a good try, and who knows, it could take hours to just explore the rest of the map. I hope you all liked this video, so don't forget to like the video if you did, leave a comment about your favorite World of Warcraft explorations, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, as there's plenty of more to come.